Today's lecture on digestion. What is mean by digestion? Digestion is the complex food material is converted into the simple form. The structural plan of the alimentary canal among the various vertebrates is quite similar and consists of following essential regions: mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. In addition, there are the several digestive glands. The salivary gland secretes saliva into the mouth cavity. The liver and the exocrine pancreatic empty their secretion in the duodenum. Mouth. The mouth is the reception part of the gut. The mouth may be the terminal, subterminal, or ventral in the position. The upper and lower boundaries of the mouth is known as lip. Lip are the movable to keeping the food between the teeth while the eating. Oral cavity. The limit of the oral slit in the mammals are set by the fleshy cheeks cavity enclosed by the jaw of the oral cavities. The oral cavity is differentiated into anterior buccal cavity and the posterior pharynx. The roof of the oral cavity in the arching palate and hard palate, in form and behind the soft palate. The soft palate present a free posterior border hanging like the portion and contain gateway leading to the pharynx. Many small mucous glands located on the palate of the tongue in the mammals. Three sets of the salivary glands are present in oral cavity of the mouth. The parotoid glands lie in the region of the ear. The submaxillary gland lies in the posterior part of the lower jaws. The sublingual glands situated below the tongue. Salivary gland secretes a clear white watery juice which the enzyme contains. It is a ptyalin. The ptyalin converts starch into sugars. The tongue is a muscular structure and lined by stratified squamous epithelium. The tongue of mammal is made of two parts. The anterior region covered with numerous small papillae separated from the posterior part. The tongue bears papillae of various kind with the taste buds. The teeth are primarily developed to the manipulated of food with the mouth cavity. The purpose of grasping, cutting, and grinding. In mammal, certain cups are developed to make the grinding surface rough. Mammals have heterodentation of the various purpose. Next part is the pharynx. It is a common region of the digestive and respiratory system in the body. Food and the air are two different types of material that pass through the pharynx opening a trachea, glottids and of esophagus, gullets are located. In mammal, the pharynx is divided into three regions by the palate, oral pharynx, ventral to the soft palate, nasal pharynx, dorsal to the soft palates, receiving the opening of the eustachian tubes. Third is the laryngeal pharynx, surrounded the glottids, guarded the enter to the laryngeal pharynx is the ring of the lymphoid masses. Palatine tonsil is the oral pharynx, adenoid tonsils on the nasal pharynx, and the lingual tonsils at the root of the tongue. Next part is the esophagus. Esophagus is the tubular structure and its length depends upon the size of the neck. Its inner lining develop longitudinal muscles. And next part is the stomach. The stomach is the dilated part of the gut and used for the temporary storage of the food. It is situated between the esophagus and the small intestine. The muscular region or muscular rings called the cardiac sphincter separated the stomach from the esophagus. At the junction of the stomach and the duodenum is the stronger annular muscles by the pyloric sphincter. The stomach is divided into four regions: cardiac esophagus, fundic esophagus, pyloric esophagus, and esophageal part. Has no glands. The glandular parts includes cardiac, fundic, and pyloric region. The cardiac stomach mucus secreted cells are more, while in fundus stomach enzymes and HCl secreted cells in the pyloric stomach. Argentophic cells are more in numbers. Intestine. Intestine is the most important part of the digestive system. The length of the intestine is related to the feeding habitat of the animals. It is relatively short in the carnivorous form and long in the herbivorous form. The intestine is differentiated into duodenum, jejunum, ileum, etc. The duodenum is the part of the intestine where pancreatic and bile ducts pure their secretion. Jejunum is richer in blood vessels and has somewhat thicker wall and wide lumen that of the lumen. The herbivorous mammals, the cecum, which is present between small and large intestine, terminated into the vermiform appendix. In human beings, it is the vestigial organ. The large intestine extends from the termination of the lumen to the anus. It brings about exploration of the unstepped residue. The large intestine is differentiated into colon and rectum. Next part is the liver. The liver is the largest gland of the body, and the liver is the reddish brown in color and is covered with a connective tissue capsules. It has partial and visceral surface, dorsal, ventral, right and left border, and has two seven lobes. The liver pure with contents through common bile duct into the duodenum. Pancreatic duct join the bile duct before it enter the duodenum. The liver is held firmly in the place by the fold of peritoneum. It's the main attachment to the septum. Septum transversum is a structure which is a mammal contribute to the formation of the diaphragm. In mammal, the liver is lobulated structure and consists of smaller lobulate. In man and rabbit, there are the 5 lobes: right central, left lateral, caudate, and spingle lobe. The gallbladder is absent in many mammals. Bile is produced by the parenchymal cells of the liver and stored in the gallbladder. Bile is an alkaline liquid. The secretory product of the biles are the bile salt, and excretory product is bile pigments. Next part is the pancreas. The pancreas lie in the fold between the stomach and the duodenum. The main duct communicates with the bile duct at the ampulla of the bile duct and discharge the secretion of the duodenum. It has two kind of functions: cells, exocrine cells or acinar cells, and endocrine cells or islet of Langerhans. Acinar cells secretes pancreatic enzymes and islet secretes the hormones insulin, serotonin and glycagon. The physiology of digestion. Ingestion. The basic function of the alimentary system is the separation of the bulk nutrition in the individual ions and molecule directly unusable by the cells, usable by the cells. The first step of ingestion, there are the three aspects of the ingestion. Number one, the neutral events which determine when feeding will begin and when it will help to stop and thereby provide quantitative control of the food intake. The control of the food intake involve matching the quantity of the food ingestion to the need of the animal. The parameters related to the food intake and its control are the blood glucose concentration, amount, the body fat and destination of the stomach. Second is the selection of the food to the higher ingested from the environment by the animals. It involves many factors such as the eccentric behavior and use of the odor, taste and visual clues. Third is the neuromuscular process by which the food is gathered and conveyed to the mouth. The food is grasping by the animal, conveyed to the mouth. In the mouth cavity, chewing and mastication follows. The mastication of the food is sequenced by the cheek and tongue. It follows toward the pancreas and it reflects activity. It causes peristaltic wave of construction of the carries the food into the esophagus and down to the stomach. The ingestion food is stored in the stomach until it can be digested. So it is the physiology of the digestion, and next part is the actual digestion process in the mammals as follows.